Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking to you and show you how XTM, as an Adobe Accelerate partner, we work with our clients to process DITA content from your AEM instance. So we're going to show you how to discover the benefits provided by the powerful synergy between XTM Connector for AEM Cloud and the DITA content structure. So you'll be able to see how seamlessly integrate DITA files in your AEM environment, create projects, and translate that content in XTM, utilizing some of the visual editor capabilities that XTM Workbench can offer for in-context editing. Today's presenters include myself. I am David Webb. I am Vice President of Sales here for Europe, Middle East and Africa, and also my colleague, our esteemed colleague, Vasilis Mostrovos, who is one of our resident XTM Solutions experts, who is going to be providing the demonstration of the solution. Just some, I suppose, housekeeping for our agenda. It is going to be very simple. After a brief introduction, we'll spend the majority of the time in the live demonstration, and then we'll close out with some Q&A, which I hope you ask plenty of questions for. So before we dive into the webinar, I'd first like to just give a brief introduction about XTM for those that don't know. So what sets XTM apart from the crowd and what makes us unique? So we can discuss that over the slides and of course within the demonstration as it relates to more specifically AEM and DITA localization. But high level with XTM and what makes us stand out from the crowd is everything and everyone is in the same system. All necessary TMS components are there and available, with us being a cloud-based solution. And it's the same comprehensive solution for all users across our clients, a single TMS cloud solution which caters for all different types of enterprises and organizations. But it does take considerable time to develop an end-to-end TMS, and XTM contains all various different applications, some of which you see on the screen here, in a single place. So XTM. So we've been working with DITA since 2003, and XTM is the leading innovative enterprise TMS. The system was established originally as an XML translation management system, and that's what actually XTM stands for, to capitalize on the file handling efficiencies offered by the XML structure. So therefore, its application to handle the structured XML of DITA was a very logical early step for the XTM international team. And in the words of our very own CIO, Andy Zydron, nobody in the translation world understands DITA as well as XTM International. So a TMS like XTM is going to enable you to maximize the benefits of reuse of matching individual segments or sentences that have already been translated previously. It will also allow you to decide the best way to translate your content. You can deal directly with individual freelance translators, language service providers, or even internal resources like in-country reviewers. But in summary, the TMS can provide an essential topic management, content filtering, content reuse, effective reporting, and potential costings for external resources. But without further ado, without myself waffling on for too long, I'd like to hand over to my colleague Vasilis to run through the demonstration of XTM, AEM Cloud, and DITA translation in action.
Thank you, David. So as you can all see my screen, we are in the AEM environment. So first of all, to integrate DITA files within the AEM environment, you need to install a plugin. And if you have access to your CRXD, in this case, you would come to the CRXD and install the package. This is already pre-installed on our instance, so it's already there. And to integrate your files, you would have to create a DITA project within the AEM environment. So this can be done by project creation. So if I come to my projects here, I can create a new project. So once this plugin is installed on your AEM environment, on the AEM cloud, you will see this template here. So in the template, you can add any DITA type of file, so DITA content, as well as a DITA map. Now, in order for us to save time, I'm not going to create a project from scratch. I've already created a sample project, and I also added the folders there. So as you can see, this is my VM test data, aptly named. And here we have the assets. So here is where your data content will exist. And as you can see, there will be different folders within that data project. We will use one as a source language, so English US, and I've added 2 languages as well for targets, so language copies. In this case, we have German and Greek. And in your source file or source content, we have various data files, as well as the data map that is essential for the package to be delivered into XTM and can also be translated. Now, to create a new project and translate all this, you can do this by going into your asset management and select the assets that you want to send, or you can also do that by creating a simple translation project. And we can do this from the files here. So as you can see, we have templates here or projects, but I'm going to create a new project from scratch. So I'm going to create a translation project and select my content to be sent there. So coming into projects now. I'm going to select the translation project. And this is where the connector takes place, and this is actually the configuration of the connector. So I'm going to give it a name, which will also be the name of the project created in XTM. So again, that's not the best, more imaginative title. I can also give it a due date here. I can select the users. It's going to assign it to our experts. And the advanced configuration, we can also select source and target languages. So we're getting English here. Let's go with English US. And I'm going to go with German and Greek. Greek and German. The configuration path takes us to the exact place of the connector, so where the connector lives. In this case, for us, is this side here. And one more important aspect is how are we translating this? So AEM also provides a machine translation option, but in this case, we're not interested in that. We're going to use the human translation, which is the connector. Additionally, you can also set up how that content will be delivered back into the AEM environment. And it's one of the most important aspects is to disable the automatically approved translation. So in this case, when the target content gets back into AEM, you have the option to either accept the translation or reject it and send it back to XTM for further editing until it's perfect. So with that set up, I have created my project. And now I have to populate content. So as you will see, project has 2 jobs for 2 languages, Greek and German. And now we have to select our data files to be sent. So let's start with the Greek one. I can select this as asset pages. And in my assets, I will find the data template. And I can select everything. If I select the top folder from here, I'm selecting everything that's in the data template project. If I want to do it manually or select some subject that I don't want to send for translation, for example, the PDF files, I can exclude that from there. And now I see what I'm sending through. So all this is part of the project. As you can see, we have 11 assets here, and I'm going to do the same for German. By the way, I can immediately start my translation for Greek, but I'm just going to add also the assets for the German language as well. In this case, I'm going to also include the PDFs. So now there are a lot more files in the German job. Now let's go back to the connector environment and start our project. So I'm going to send the Greek language through. As soon as I click start, the API kicks in and it sends the project over to XTM. And I can do this for German as well. By the time this is reloaded, it's already committed for translation. Now the content has been taken from the AEM environment and it's been sent to XTM where the project is created. If I refresh this again, the German job should also be committed for translation. This is where we leave the AEM environment and we switch over into XTM. And this is the XTM panel. I've logged in as an admin and project manager, so I see everything in the system. And if I reflect my projects here, I should be able to see my project coming through. As you can see, it's here and it contains both languages and it's already analyzed. Now this is done because the AEM connector uses a template that it's been connected with the XTM instance. So everything is predetermined by that template. So I already have the workload set up. I already have assigned users. And once the analysis is finished, I will be able to even start the project. If I remember correctly, this template is also set to automatically start the project. So even if you don't want to come in and manually start the project at all, the template can do that for you. Let's give it a few more seconds and everything is analyzed. And as you can see, analysis is complete. And now we're in the first step, which is already active. And it's been assigned already to one of my colleagues and to this LSP here, which is another of my colleagues. So let's see what we have from the content we sent through. All these files are available for translation. And now I'm going to open the CAD tool, the integrated CAD tool within XTM, which is called the XTM Workbench. And we can see they're also in visual mode. So XTM allows you to visualize the data files using a style set configuration, allowing you to have the visual mode of your files here. Now, this is not the most complicated data file there is. Of course, there are far more complicated files, but you can already see here that the visual mode is available. And if you had some complicated file structure with images or any integrated part within the data file, you would see that they're in what we call what you see is what you get environment. So this is a visual environment. And it's also interactive and allows you to perform changes in real time. So I can see my change taking place if I translate this Greek sentence and I change it to something that actually would make sense here. But you get to see that in the visual editor and it is in real time, so you can actually see how the structure will change. So this is the most powerful aspect of the data integration, allowing you to visualize your data files within the CAD tool and translate them in an actual in-context review environment. Now we have a lot of files here that are not part of the data package. Again, this isn't one of the most complicated data files, but it's available here. So once you perform your translation, you simply finish your task, and then this is pushed back into XTM, into the AEM environment. So in this case, I can do that because I'm a PM and I have full access over the system. So I will finish the task and send it back into the AEM environment. So as I can see here, the project is finished, both for German and Greek, and going back to the project in the AEM instance. If I refresh my view here, it takes a few seconds for this to be updated and it will change waiting for review or pending review because I haven't selected this to be moved automatically. So I have to manually review what I have taken back. You see that as well here. If I open the projects on this side, this should be available here. Maybe give it a few more seconds till this is updated, everything gets back. Now the German part has come back, so as you can see, I can reveal listing assets, so I can see my translation. There's only the title of the file here, but I can also accept this or reject it. So let's say this translation was of poor quality. I can reject this and send it back into the XTM project. If I reject this task, the last step of the project will be opened again, and Data linguist or whoever is assigned there, the resource, can perform edits and then send it back into the XTM, into the AEM environment. And with that, the round trip and the presentation of the DITA content projects within XTM is complete. And now, floor is yours for questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and David can share his screen. Feel free to use the question module within the GoToWebinar to ask questions.
Thank you, Vasilis. Yeah, we'll have open the floor for questions.
Okay, so we have the first from Wouter van der Berg. Could you elaborate on DITA, please? What does it mean for the customer to implement it? Essentially, DITA is a very well-structured package of XML files that can also be, that include a map structure that can be contained within a container. In that container, you can have different folders of different layers of your XML files there. And this is highly effective for translating, let's say, highly technical documents, that one part of the document is related and connected to another part of the document. Now, the DITA structure allows XTM to take that XML file and parse it and present it in a visual mode, and also allowing you to have that map and follow that structure within the files in the Workbench. Did that cover your question, Wouter? If not, you can always contact us for more information. We will provide you with contact details at the end. So essentially, as I mentioned in the beginning, because AEM and the connector, the AEM connector for XTM essentially allows you to push any type of file from the AEM environment. That's why we're also integrating with DITA. Essentially, it doesn't matter what type of file is being pushed to XTM, the AEM connector can push that file type to XTM. In order for the AEM user to use the DITA connector, or to use DITA content, they will have to install a plugin allowing you to create that project within the AEM environment, because the AEM environment follows similar structure like the DITA files. They create a project file, and in that project file, there's content nested in there. So once you have that set up, you can move your DITA content onto the AEM environment, and from there to the XTM. If you need more information, we can provide you information on the plugin that it's required to be installed on the AEM site. And then from there, you can start creating DITA projects on AEM. That's great. Thanks, Wouter.
Any more questions? So Vasilis, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
So you work with many clients that work with DITA and XTM and specifically AEM. So in your humble opinion, what do you feel is the main benefit of the XTM AEM connector, as well as being able to process DITA content?
That's a great question, David. As I mentioned before, it's the simplicity of pushing the content from the AEM side onto XTM, and then taking full advantage of the powerful feature of the XTM, the visual content, which allows you to translate your DITA files within the visual environment within XTM. Not to mention the other characteristics of translation memory and terminology management that live within the XTM environment. But essentially, it's one of the most simple and efficient ways to manipulate and send DITA content from one repository into XTM. Because the AEM is so powerful that it sends any file type onto the TMS, it'll solve your problems of creating DITA projects or anything too complicated that should be created manually. As you can see, I just sent everything with one click from the AEM side. So for me, that will be the biggest benefit of using AEM and DITA files as well.
And it can get quite complex, right? From a DITA map perspective.
Yes, as you see here, just had like 20 different files, but normally DITA packets might contain thousands of files. That's the beauty of the DITA content.
Oh, we have a question from Stefan.
Okay.
Can I also use AEM guides translation management from the map environment to trigger the translation within XTM?
So can I say again, can you also use AEM guides translation management from the map environment to trigger translation? I'm not sure what the AEM translation management is. If you're talking about creating a translation project, or you talk about the structure, following from the structure, going through the tree in the AEM structure there. To be honest, Stefan, I'm not as expert on the AEM side as you are. You're probably far more knowledgeable on the AEM side than me. Which I don't actually have the answer to this, I can take that offline and get back to you. Yes, I triggered that from the assets environment, yeah.
So I think Stefan means from the actual tree structure as opposed to the asset.
Yeah, I think we can also do that from a tree structure as well. If you find that the project's there, yeah, you just use that as a language copy. You create a language copy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stefan, you can also trigger it from the Adobe Experience Manager guides, and yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for that.
We have another question
that from Christopher. What happens when there's an error found in translation, but the files have already been returned to AEM? That's why we put that step there. That's a good question, Christopher. That's why we put that step there where you can accept or reject the translation. If we hadn't that step there, the content will already be coming through to AEM. It will be approved already. So it could also be published in some cases. And that's the point when you have this step where you can accept or reject translation. If you reject it, then it goes back into XTM. If you find an error there. That's why you have this preview option and you see the final output, you see the target file, and you can reject it as well.
And the stakeholder or linguist that's within that last stage, Christopher, will be notified by XTM by an email notification. They would then log in, if they're not already logged in, do those changes where those errors have been found, and they would amend, and then they would recommit that back to AEM.
If you don't have that step and the project is completed and it's already sent to AEM, then you would have to either reopen it or send it new, send the content back again. That's why we have that failsafe there. So Ashley, are you able to showcase sending over a data file contains more than text as an image, etc.? I would love to, but I don't have any file types yet now currently. But if you want, we can create a small recording and send it to you, Ashley. Just contact us after the webinar. We'll show you how to contact us, and then we'll send you the recording with something more complicated. Yep.
Or we could do a real live demo with some of your content as well, Ashley. It's completely up to you.
That's another,
and that goes for anybody else.
Yeah, that's another suggestion. Yeah, of course.
Any more questions from anybody? We'll give it a minute here. To allow people to type, I guess, Vasilis.
Yep, let's give it a couple more minutes. If there are no more questions, then I guess the last slide, David will show you how you can contact XTM.
Oh.
That's fine.
It appears that we've missed a slide off there. So if anybody does, feel free to contact us. You can contact us at sales@xtm.cloud. Or my email is dweb@xtm.cloud. And Vasilis is exactly the same, vmostravos@xtmcloud. Feel free to reach out.
You can also come to our website, go into our website and start a 30-day free trial of XTM, where you can test the system, see if it fits your requirements, and test the connection with any of our connectors, including the AEM connector I just demonstrated.
Contact details are also on our website as well, everybody.
Now, unless there are any other questions, because I don't see anything else in the module. I think we can wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for your time and for attending this webinar. And we're looking forward to seeing you in our future webinars.